So the next modifier is what? Protected. Next modifier is what? Protected. So protected is applicable for inner class. I mean for main class. For main class you cannot apply the protected, you cannot apply for main class, you cannot apply. Protected is applicable for inner class. Protected is applicable for inner class, method and data. It's not applicable for main class, it is not applicable. This protected is applicable for either for inner class it is applicable, or for method it is applicable, and data it is applicable. Okay, so it is applicable only for these three things. It is applicable. Let's say for example, if method or data, let's say if any method or data is applied with protected, if any method or data is applied with protected, we can access the data and behavior. We can access the data or methods within the same class, or its child classes, Got it, right? The protected is applicable for inner class. For main class you cannot apply. For inner class you can apply this protected, and it is applicable for data as well as method. If any method or data is applied with protected, the scope of the data or behavior is nothing but within that particular class we can access, and its child class. Only we can access. In the brackets, if you want, you can specify here, child class may be in the same package or in different package. Child class may be in same package. Child class may be in same package or in different package. Child class may be in the same package or it may be in a different package. If method or data is applied with protected, we can access only what? Within the particular class you can access, as well as and its child class you can access. From other classes we cannot access. The child class may be in the same package or in a different package. Now here, if you want to understand this protected concept, if method and data is applied with protected, we can access the data or methods in the same class or its child class. What is the meaning of this concept, child class? And first time we're listening this term called child class. What is in my child class? Okay, so if you want to understand this concept, if you want to understand what is mean by child class, you should have a knowledge on this inheritance concept. If you want to understand this concept, what is in by these child classes, you should have an idea about what exactly inheritance is. The initial classes we discussed, what is the definition of inheritance? What is the definition of inheritance? Acquiring the properties from one class to another class. One class to another class is called as inheritance. Acquiring the properties from one class to another class is called as what? Inheritance. From day one onwards, I'm telling, if you take each and every class describes about two things. What are the two things? One is either data and behavior. Correct or not? From day one onwards, you're discussing a concept called. Let me explain that. If you take any class, the class describes about only the two things, right? What are the two things? Data and behavior. It's an important concept. Let's try to understand what exactly this inheritance is. From day one onwards, we are telling a class describes about what? The data and behavior. A class describes about what? The data and behavior. If this data and behavior, if you get into, by using the inheritance concept, this class data and behavior, we will get into another class we will get. Inheritance is nothing but acquiring the properties from parent class to child class. This concept is called as what? Inheritance, right? Meaning a class describes about the data and behavior. If you get this data and behavior of a class, if you get one class data and behavior into another class, if you get one class data and behavior, if you get into another class, if you get one class data and behavior, if you get into another class, this concept is called as what? It's a inheritance. This data and behavior you are going to get into another class you are going to get. So this concept is called as what? It's inheritance. Meaning this data, whatever the data you define in this class data and behavior you're going to get into another class you're going to get. This concept is called as what? It's a inheritance concept we call. Understand, right? Acquiring the properties from parent class to child class is called as inheritance. Acquiring the properties in the sense nothing but here. A class is having only two things, data and behavior. This data and behavior will get into another class will get. That's what inheritance is. Okay. So we'll see here how to work with the inheritance. Acquiring the properties from one class to another class is called as what? Inheritance. There are total 4 types of inheritance. There are 4 types of inheritance. What are the 4 types of inheritance? One is simple inheritance is one thing. One is what? Simple inheritance. Simple inheritance. There are 4 types of inheritance. Simple inheritance. Let's take multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance. Next thing is multi-level inheritance. Simple inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance. The last thing is nothing but hierarchical inheritance. So 4 types of inheritance: simple inheritance, multiple, multi-level, and hierarchical inheritance. These are the 4 types of inheritances. Okay. Let's see here. What is the first type of inheritance? Simple inheritance. Meaning if you are getting the properties from one class, that is called simple inheritance. Let's see here. Diagrammatically, we'll represent what exactly this simple inheritance, multiple, multi-level, and hierarchical. Then after that, programmatically, we'll see some examples. We'll see for understanding this, what exactly this inheritance concept is. Okay. Now let's see here. What is the first type of inheritance? Simple inheritance. Simple inheritance. Just for demonstrating that one, the inheritance concept. What is the first type of inheritance? It's a simple inheritance. If you get the properties from one class to another class, it is called as what? It's a simple inheritance. For example, this is one class. This is one class called class A. This is one class called what? Class A. If you get this class data and behavior, if you get into another class, if you get this class data and behavior, if we get into another class, if we get, for example, class B I'm taking here, is class B is getting the properties from class A. Class B is getting the properties from what? Class A, it is getting the properties. It is called as what? It's a simple inheritance. Meaning if one class is getting the properties from other class, one class is getting the properties from other class, then it's called as what? It's a simple inheritance. This type of inheritance is called as what? It's a simple inheritance. Meaning one class is getting the properties from other class, it is getting the properties. This type of inheritance is called as what? It's a simple inheritance. Next, what is the next one? Multiple inheritance. Let's see here what exactly multiple inheritance. There is an important interview question is also here. That is basically Java will not support the multiple inheritance. We'll see what is the reason why Java will not support the multiple inheritance. The interview question is nothing but why Java will not support the multiple inheritance. That's the interview question. We'll see. We'll discuss that one. Why Java will not support that multiple inheritance. What exactly multiple inheritance is nothing but getting the properties from two or more classes. Getting the properties from two or more classes is called as what? A multiple inheritance. Just assume that it's one class called class B. Let's assume that this is class A. This is one class called class A. And this is another class called class B. It's another class called what? Class B. Now observe here. If the class is getting the properties from two or more classes, the class is getting the properties from two or more classes, then it is called as it's a multiple inheritance. That is called as what? It's a multiple inheritance. Let's take assume that it's one class. In the class C, if class C is getting the properties from class A and class B, let's take now observe here, the C class is getting the properties from class A as well as class B. That is called as what? It's a multiple inheritance. It's what? It's a multiple inheritance because C class is getting the properties from A class as well as B class. It is called as what? It's a multiple inheritance. The C class is getting the properties from A class as well as B class. This is called as what? It's a multiple inheritance. Why Java will not support this multiple inheritance is nothing but, let's see here, one simple example. Getting the properties, I mean, whatever the data and behavior is there in the class, that data and behavior of a class you are going to get into the current class you are going to get. Let's assume that this class is having a data called int x is equals to 20, for example. In this class, you declared a variable called int x is equals to what? 20, you declared a variable. Even in this class also, you declared the variable you declared for int x, you declared a variable you declared. For example, I specified int x is equals to 30, I specified x value 20 here in class A, and x value is equals to 30, I specified in class B, I specified 30. When you write this system.out.println statement, of x value I'm printing here, so what is the output you'll get? You're going to get the x value 20 you're going to get or 30 you will get. What is the output you'll get here in the C class when you write system.out.println of x? What is the value you will get? 20 you will get or 30 you will get? Because inheritance is nothing but whatever the data you define in the particular class, the data you are going to get into the child class you are going to get. Now here C is a child for A as well as B, right? This particular issue is called as, technically we call as diamond issue. In IT industry, we call this particular issue is called as what? It's a diamond issue we call as a diamond issue. Okay. So because if there are two classes which is having the same variable or same method, then you're going to get some conflicts. You're going to get the class has to get the properties from which when you print system.out.println, because both you are going to get into the child class. This 20 value you are going to get into the child class, 30 also you are going to get into the child class you are going to get. So that's why you're going to get some problems you're going to get, because to avoid that problem only, Java completely will not support this multiple inheritance with respect to classes. Because of this diamond issue, so this particular issue we call as what? Diamond issue. So because of this diamond issue technique, Java completely will not support the multiple inheritance with respect to classes. For inheritance, we are having a concept called inheritance. For inheritance concept, the multiple inheritance will support. But for interface concept, this multiple inheritance will support. But for classes, this multiple inheritance will not be supported. This is the second type of inheritance. And the third type of inheritance is nothing but multi-level. This is multiple. Third thing is nothing but multi-level inheritance. What is the third one? Multi-level inheritance. Multi-level in the sense nothing but, let's see here. What is multi-level inheritance? Assume that it's a class. What is multi-level inheritance? This is one class. It is class C, for example. Is what? Class C. Class C, class B, class A. Meaning A, what is a parent for A class? B is a parent for A class. B is a parent for A class. What is the parent for B class? C is a parent for B class. C is the parent for what? B class. So this is called as multi-level inheritance. This is called as what? It's a this is multi-level inheritance. Now here, meaning in the A class, you are going to get the B class properties you will get, as well as the C class properties also you are going to get, because it's a child for both, right? It's a child for both. A class will get the properties from B class as well as C class. Okay, this is called as what? It's a multi-level inheritance. It's called as what? Multi-level inheritance. What is the last one? The last thing is nothing but what? Hierarchical inheritance. Last thing is what? What type of inheritance? Hierarchical inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance is nothing but if two or more classes are getting the properties from one single class. Just one second. Okay. Last thing is nothing but what? Hierarchical inheritance. If one class is getting the properties from two or more classes, if one class is getting the properties from two or more classes, this concept is called as what? It's a hierarchical inheritance. Let's see here. We'll discuss about this overriding concept and all. I think Rajendra, you have some idea about this concept, but a lot of people still they're new to these terms, so that's why. What is the last one? Hierarchical inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance in the sense nothing but if one class is getting the properties from two or more classes, if one class is getting the properties from two or more classes, this particular concept is called as what? It's a, sorry. If two or more classes are getting the properties from one single class, this is called as hierarchical inheritance. If two or more classes are getting the properties from one single class, it's called as what? It's a hierarchical inheritance. Let's say, for example, assume that class A is specified here. Here I specified class B and class C. Now class B and class C are the childs of class B and class C are child of what? Which class? Class B and class C are the child of class A. These two are the childs of which class? A class. These two are the childs of A class. Class B and class C are the childs of what? Class A. This is called as hierarchical inheritance. This type of inheritance is called as what? It's a hierarchical This type of inheritance is called as what? It's a hierarchical inheritance. It's a hierarchical inheritance. These are the four types of inheritance. These are the four types of inheritance is available. One is the single inheritance. It's not simple inheritance. It's a single. Sorry, it's my mistake. It's not simple inheritance. It's a single interface. Single inheritance. Single inheritance. Multiple inheritance. Multi-level inheritance and multi-level inheritance and hierarchical inheritance. These are the four types of inheritances are available. These are the four types of inheritances: hierarchical, multi-level, multiple, and simple. Okay. So now programmatically we'll see the examples we'll see and we'll try to understand what is this single inheritance, multi-level, hierarchical. So programmatically we'll create the examples and we'll try to understand this inheritance concept. We'll try to understand. Okay. I'm telling you, a class is having the data and behavior. Getting the data and behavior of one class into another class is called as what? Inheritance concept. Okay. Let's see first one simple example we'll see for a single inheritance. We'll say a simple example we'll see for simple inheritance. And before that, let's see here. For one class to another class is called as inheritance. The main purpose of using this inheritance concept is nothing but the code. Code reusability is the main advantage of what? Inheritance concept. Code reusability is the main advantage of inheritance concept, and use extends keyword to inherit the properties from other class. To inherit the properties from other class. Use what? Use extends keyword to inherit the properties from other classes. Okay. So now we'll see on simple application. We'll see a simple program. We'll see for understanding this single inheritance. Okay. Let me start the virtual device. So 2 minutes, it's loading. Once it is loading, we'll see an example. We'll see. So let's see the first one. Let's see the first type of inheritance. What is that one? Single inheritance. Okay. Let's do one thing. I'm taking a simple example. I'm using an IDE called Edit Plus for developing the Java applications. Take a simple example for demonstrating this simple inheritance. Okay. I'm taking an example called bank, class what? Bank. And in this bank class, I defined one variable I'm defining here. Let's take, for example, a float type, float, rate of interest. Actually, data type I specified. I specified, data type is specified, float. What is the data type is specified? A rate of interest. Rate of interest is equals to, I specified, for example, 10.5 is the rate of interest. Just assume that it's a float type of value, right? If it is a float type of value, we had to specify this f we had to specify. If it is a float type of value, we had to specify what? F we had to specify. Rate of interest is equals to 10.5 f I configured. We're defining it's a float type of value. Okay. Next, I'm taking one more thing. Let's say, for example, this is one data. This is one data in the bank class. Rate of interest is equals to 10.5. Next, let's say, for example, I'm taking one more variable called int a min underscore balance, a minimum underscore what? Balance, min underscore balance. I'm specifying the minimum balance to, let's say, to maintain the account, the minimum balance you have to maintain is 500 rupees, for example. I specified a minimum balance is equals to what? 500. This is on data of a bank class. This is a data of a bank class. One is what? The rate of interest and minimum balance. And just for demonstration, I'm creating a method. I'm creating here public. Let's say, for example, reject old currency. Reject old currency is a method name I specified. Public void reject old currency is the method name I specified. Reject old currency is a method name I specified. Public, I'm specifying here. The method name I'm specifying as void is a method name I specified. Public void reject old currency is a method name I specified. It's a behavior. It's a behavior. It's a method. It's a method. It's what? A method. For this method, in this method, I'm writing a message. I'm writing here system.out.println. System.out.println. And here, just I'm writing some message I'm writing here. Let's take don't take. Let's take, I'm specifying some message here. 5,000 rupees and 2,000 rupees are not valid. 5,000 and 1,000, right? Sorry. 500 and 1,000 rupees. Let's take old notes are not valid. Old notes are not valid. This is a method. It's a method. What is the method name? Reject old currency is a method. Reject old currency is a method. I specified 500 and 1,000 rupees old notes are not valid. Let's say the program. Let's say the program called bank.java in Java 9:30 p.m. in the C drive. Java 9:30 p.m. I'm saving a file. I'm saving it the name called. Saving a file. I'm saving it the name called what? Bank.java is the file name specified. Okay, class we created. What is the class name? Bank class. We defined some data and behavior. Rate of interest and minimum balance is 500. Reject old currency. Reject old currency. This is what the data and behavior we created in a class called what? Bank class. What is the data and behavior? This diagram I could represent here. In the bank class, assume that in place of EA, I'm taking an example. We are taking an example for this class name. What is the class name? Bank is a class name we specified. Bank is a class name we specified. Okay, got it? We specified the variable names as rate of interest is one thing. Rate of interest is one thing. What is another one? The minimum balance to maintain the account. Rate of interest, minimum balance to maintain the account. And what is the last one? Reject old currency is a method name. What is the last one? Reject old currency is one method we created. Reject old currency is a method we created. This data and behavior of this bank class, this data and behavior we will get into another class we will get. This data and behavior of one class will get into what? Into another class we'll get. This concept is called as what? So let's see here. Now we'll create a class, we'll create programmatically. This is one class called what? Bank is a class. Creating one more Java class I'm creating called ICICA is a class I'm creating. What is another class? ICICA. Let's take some, there are some rules are defined by the RBI. The rate of interest should be 10.5 in any bank, and the minimum balance to open the account is nothing but 500. And reject old currency is the behavior, its own behavior. Okay, let's say the program, and this ICICI is also one of the bank, right? This bank wants to get the properties from this ICICI bank wants to get the properties from the bank class. So simply we had to write ICICI extends bank class. I specified ICICI extends what? Bank, meaning we specified here whenever you write this statement ICICI extends bank, I'm saving the program with the name called ICICI. With the name called ICICI, I save the program, I save with ICICI name. This ICICI is a child of bank class. So whatever the data you define in the bank class, this rate of interest, minimum balance, the rate of interest, minimum balance, and reject old currency, this data and behavior, we are going to get into the child class will get automatically. This particular data and behavior we will get into what? Into this child class automatically. We'll get this data and behavior into the child class we will get automatically. Okay, so we create a class called ICICA is a class we created. What's the class name we are creating? ICICA. This ICICA we specified class ICICI extends bank. Mean this data and behavior, this rate of interest, minimum balance, reject old currency, this data and behavior automatically you're going to get into this ICICA class. You will get automatically. You will get. If you want just see the program here, I told you right, the data and behavior you are going to get into the child class. You are going to get automatically. Let's see here. Let's try to understand. Just assume that I specified ICICI, meaning we are creating the object. For this particular class, we are creating the object. For ICICI class, we are creating the object. ICICI is equals to new ICICI. ICICI is equals to what? New ICICI. And simply I'm writing here system.out.println. System.out.println will specify I dot. What are the variables we defined? Rate of interest is one variable. Rate of interest is one variable we created. What is another one? Rate of interest is one variable we created. And one more thing is nothing but I dot. Rate of interest is one thing. Other thing is, the intent object dot is specified, right? Minimum balance, minimum underscore balance. We are printing that minimum balance we are printing. rate of interest we are printing, and we'll call ICICI particular object dot that ICICI object that there is a method called reject old currency is a method. We'll call reject old currency is a method. Reject old currency is a method. Let's say the program ICICI extends bank. Okay. Now let's see here. Let's compile first. We'll compile this bank class. We'll compile. Let's compile the bank class first. Then after that, we'll compile the ICICI class. We'll compile and we'll run the program. We'll run. Let's go to the command prompt. cd space Java 9:30 p.m. What is the first class we created? Java C. First, what is the class? Bank.java, right? Let's see Java C bank.java. Java C bank.java. First compile that bank.java class. Then after that, let's compile the ICICI class. Java C ICICI.java. Next, run the ICICI program. Java ICICI. So you got the rate of interest. We got 10.5. We got the rate of interest. We got the. See where you define this one, or you created. We got the 10.5, 500, 500 and 1000 rupees. Old notes are not valid. So we create object for ICICI class. We create object, right? We created the object for ICICI class object we created, and we are calling this rate of interest, minimum balance, and reject old currency method. Clearly, if you observe in this program here, or you define this rate of interest and minimum balance and reject old currency methods in this particular class? Come on, tell me. Now it's clearly visible, right? Are you created this rate of interest and minimum balance and reject old currency variables here? Right? We are not defined anything here. Then how we are able to access? How we are able to access with the help of the child class object? With the help of child class object, how can we access these particular methods and data? That is what the inheritance concept is. That is what the inheritance concept is. When you write this extends bank, whatever the data and behavior you created in the bank class, the data and behavior you are going to get into the child class, you are going to get automatically. You're going to get into what? Into child class, you're going to get automatically the data and behavior you're going to get into the child class. Okay. So we'll see about this multiple inheritance. We'll see. Next, what is the next type of inheritance? Multi-level inheritance. What is the next one? Multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance in the sense nothing but, let's say for example in these diagrams, easily you can understand here, the class A is getting the properties from class B as well as class C. Let's see here, let's try to understand what is an example we'll understand for this multi-level inheritance. Okay, let's see here. Okay, ICICI is a class we created. This ICICI class is a child of bank class. ICICI is a child of what? Bank class, right? I'm creating one more class. Let's take. I'm creating one more class called RBI. Creating one more class called what? RBI is a class is specified. In this RBI class, I'm specifying here some variable I'm specifying here, some data I'm defining in this class. In this RBI class, I'm defining some data I'm defining. In this RBI class, I'm defining some data I'm defining. Let's take, for example, apply tax, for example. Let's say, for example, I'm specifying service tax. I'm specifying here. Service tax. What is service tax? Let's say, for example, float. Let's say service tax is nothing but 0.5 F is a service tax. Let's say it's a float type. I specified 5%. 5 is a service tax, for example. If it is 5, we have to take what? Int will take. Int byte or short, long. It's a numeric type without any decimal values. I specified int service is equals to what? 5. So here we specify service underscore tax. Service underscore tax is equals to 5 I configured. And Let's say RB is given a permission for monthly. The minimum transactions is nothing but minimum transaction is 10, for example. The minimum transactions are, let's take maximum transactions. Maximum transactions you can take in a month. How many transactions you can take in a month? 10 transactions you can perform in a month. 10 transactions you can perform in a. So we created a class called RBA is a class. We specified the service tax 5 and the maximum, you know, the maximum transactions is nothing but 10 is the maximum transactions, for example. Let's say the program. What is the program name is specified? RBI.java. Let's say the program RBI.java. Let's assume that bank is a child of RBI, specifying extends RB. Now observe here, what is a cycle is specified? RBI is a main class. RBI is what? Demonstrating about this multi-level. I taken a class I taken here as RBI is a main class. RBI. What is the child for this RBI? Bank is a child class for this RBI class. And one of the bank for this one is what? IC. We created 3 classes we created now here. Now we create what? 3 classes we created. Bank is getting the properties from RBI. I mean, the bank is a child of RBI, and this IC is a child of what? Bank. Okay. Now here, in the bank class, you can access the RBI data and behavior. You can access in the bank class. Okay, in the ICACA, we can access the bank class data and behavior. You can access as well as the RBI class data and behavior also we can access. Understanding, right? The multi-level inheritance. Okay. Now here, assume that, let's take I'm taking the ICACA class. We're not specified what is the maximum transactions and what is the service tax. Let's take I'm writing a message I'm writing here. I'm printing in the ICACA class. I'm printing the maximum transactions as well as service tax. The 2 values I'm printing here. System.out.println. System.out.println will print the service tax will print. Service underscore tax. And system.out.println of maximum transactions. Maximum transactions. Service underscore tax and maximum transactions. Is ICICI child of bank, and bank is a child of what? RBI. Now we are seeing an example for this multi-level inheritance. Okay, let's save the program. Now observe here in the ICICI we are getting the bank class properties. These are the bank class properties we are getting, as well as we're going to get its parent, bank parent. What is the bank parent? RBI. That RBI properties also you'll get here. Let's say assume that. So first we have to compile that RBA.java class. We have to compile. First we have to compile this RBA.java, Java C RBA.java. Then after that we have to compile the bank class, Java C bank.java. Then after that we have to compile ICICI class. We have to compile Java C ICICI.java. So one second, just. Oh, I think directly we are calling. We should not call directly. With the help of object, we have to call. The ICSA class object is there, right? With the help of object, we have to call the service tax and maximum transactions. Java C ICSA.java. Java, IC, ICA. So we got 5 and 10. Service tax we got 5, we got the maximum transactions we got 10, we got the maximum transactions. 10 we got the maximum transactions, we got 10. Okay. So this is called as multi-level inheritance. It's called as what? Multi-level inheritance. A class is getting the properties from B class. B class is getting the properties from C class. It is getting the properties. This is called as what? It's a multi-level inheritance. And what is the last type of inheritance? The last type of inheritance is nothing but what? Hierarchical inheritance. If two or more classes are getting the properties from one single class, then it is called as a hierarchical inheritance. Let's take, for example, assume that uh, you know we get a class called ICICA, right? This ICICA is a child of which class? Bank class. The ICICA is a child of what? Bank class. Like this, for example, I'm creating one more class. I'm creating called Kotak. One more class I created called what? Kotak I created. Kotak extends bank. Kotak extends what? Bank. Now here, even this Kotak class also, you can create the object and we can call that particular methods and data we can call. Let's take Kotak is equals to new Kotak. You can create the object for this particular class. You can create the object and simply you can call that rate of interest and minimum amount, reject old currency, and these type of thing you can call. Let's say, for example, just for demonstration, I'm calling that method in the bank class. We get a method we created, right? What is the method here? Reject old currency is a method. Reject old currency is a method name I specified. Reject old currency. Okay. Let's save the program. There's a class name Kotak.java. Kotak.java is a class. Now observe here, this is called as multi-level, hierarchical. This is called as hierarchical because the ICICI is getting the properties from bank class as well as the Kotak is also getting the properties from bank class. If two or more classes are getting the properties from one single class, if two or more classes are getting the properties from one single class, then it's called as hierarchical inheritance. Now ICICI is getting the properties from bank class, Kotak is also getting the properties from bank class. If you want, let's see here. Successfully we compile that ICICI program, we got the output. Java C, Kotak.java, Java, Kotak. We got the output we got. Because you're calling that method, right? Is that old currency method? We got the output. Okay. Hey, 1 second. See, the ICICI class is getting the properties from bank class as well as Kotak is also getting the properties from bank class. It's called this what? It's a hierarchical inheritance. What is the last type of inheritance? Multiple inheritance. We discussed already. Java will not support this multiple inheritance. Just we'll try once. We'll try. Multiple inheritance is nothing but if one class is getting the properties from two different classes, then this is called as what? It's a multiple inheritance. If one class is getting the properties from multiple classes, then this is called as what? Multiple inheritance. Just assume that, I'm giving an example I'm giving here. Let's take class Kotak extends bank, comma, RBI, for example. I specified here Kotak extend the properties from bank, comma, RBI. You are specifying here get the properties from bank as well as get the properties from RBI. So simply save the program. Just try to compile this Kotak. Earlier successfully we got the output we got. Now if you try to compile this one, Kotak, see we got the error we got. Class Kotak extends bank, comma, RBI. It's giving an error, it's giving here at this particular step. Because Java will not support that multiple inheritance because of the diamond issue. Because of the diamond issue, Java will not support that multiple inheritance. Okay. So these are the 4 types of inheritance: single, multiple, multi-level, and hierarchical inheritances. Okay, so create some sample applications. It's very simple. Inheritance concept is very simple. Every class describes about the data and behavior. We know that if you get the data and behavior into another class, if you get one class data and behavior, if you get into another class, that concept is called as what? It's a inheritance. Okay, so these are the four types of inheritance. Easily we can understand. We can create the classes, and we can create this single inheritance, hierarchical, and multi-level inheritance like this. Okay, so work on up to this, and the next class we'll discuss about more about this inheritance concept, like method overriding, method overloading. Okay, and the constructor will override or not. So these kind of concept, interesting concept, we'll discuss in the tomorrow's class. We'll discuss. Meanwhile, let's work on this inheritance concept today's session. Okay. So any queries? Let me know if you have any queries. Otherwise, we'll see in the tomorrow session.